So today, lads, we're going to be talking about Sydney Colson, and she went on to Aaliyah Boston's podcast today and talked about the kind of negativity that she received from being a part of the Indiana Fever. And we all kind of know that that's something that is...
Sydney Colson recently shared something that confirms what many people have been suspecting about the Indiana Fever. While appearing on Aaliyah Boston's show, she admitted that after joining the team, she faced more backlash than at any other point in her career. According to her, simply signing with Indiana was enough to turn people against her. Even as an experienced and generally well-liked player, she was surprised by the level of criticism. It raises a bigger question across the league. Are WNBA players who join the Indiana Fever now expected to deal with this kind of negativity?
Whether I'm playing, we want things to look like what we want them to look like. And I knew coming into this season, once people started talking, once I was here and experiencing it, like, people had a lot to say. There was a lot of negativity.
During an appearance on Aaliyah Boston's podcast, Sydney Colson shared comments that likely aren't something the WNBA would want circulating so openly. She spoke honestly about the backlash she received after signing with the Indiana Fever, saying that for the first time in her career, she felt like people genuinely disliked her and that it was directly tied to her joining the team. Colson admitted she expected some level of attention when she signed with the Fever, but the intensity of the reaction still caught her off guard. Throughout her career, she has built a reputation as a friendly, humorous, and well-liked player with little to no real negativity directed at her before. However, according to her, everything changed after the move. Suddenly, she was facing a wave of criticism from people who had never had any issue with her in the past, making the experience feel completely different from anything she had dealt with before.
And I just looked at it like, I'm not used to this. Typically, I'm the person that people are just like, oh, we love Sid, that's funny, blah, blah, blah. Some people be like, not funny, and I'm like, they don't have a sense of humor. But like, for the most part, people have liked me and have admired me from the outside, but that's never made me do the things I do. Like, I do the things that I do because I enjoy my teammates, because I like comedy, because I like whatever I'm doing, not for other people's approval. So once I got here and was experiencing people's disapproval, it didn't really faze me because I still understood. I think I understood even.
Her comments stand out even more because Sydney Colson is a veteran player who has been in the league for years and has played for multiple teams. She has seen different locker room environments and experienced a wide range of situations, so she understands what normal treatment and reactions in the league look like. That's why her claim that the backlash she faced after joining the Fever felt unlike anything before carries weight. She has a clear point of comparison. In her view, the reaction surrounding her signing highlights a particularly hostile atmosphere around the team. Colson emphasized that she didn't do anything to deserve the criticism. From her perspective, people started disliking her for no real personal reason other than her association with Indiana. She remained the same person she has always been. Nothing about her behavior, personality, or professionalism changed. The only difference, she suggested, was the jersey she wore. And in her eyes, that alone was enough for some people to turn against her, which she sees as evidence of deeper resentment toward the Fever among certain fans and even within parts of the broader basketball community.
You for no reason, I'm probably exactly where I need to be. So once the injury happened, I'm like, once again, this is something that I don't fully get, but this must be where I need to be, sidelined. And it made me an even more vocal leader. It made me pay attention to things maybe that I wasn't paying attention to that other people had going on, so I could be more tapped into if they're having a hard time and I need to come over here and help them out, whether it's mental, physical, whatever. I had to get outside of me. And that was the lesson that I learned in this. I hope it's the one that God wanted me to learn, but it was just one of those things that nobody wants that to happen, but you still have to move forward and figure out a way to still be,
What's especially interesting is how Sydney Colson processed that negativity. Instead of letting it discourage her, she took a different perspective. Once she realized the criticism wasn't based on anything she had actually done, she interpreted it as confirmation that she was exactly where she needed to be. From her viewpoint, when people dislike you without a clear reason and the hostility feels unfair or exaggerated, it can sometimes signal that you're part of something meaningful or disruptive. In that sense, she saw the reaction as less about her personally and more about what the Indiana Fever represented. Colson appeared to understand that the frustration wasn't really directed at her as an individual, but rather tied to the presence and impact of the Fever as a team. In her interpretation, the team's growing success and visibility may have unsettled certain established expectations within the league, and she found herself caught in the middle of that larger dynamic.
We'll know that that's something that's happening with all these players. Is like they're just not in any way happy as long as they don't. They have to publicly hate the Fever, and you know the only way you can get back into these people's good graces is by pulling a DeWanna Bonner. By just not playing for the Fever anymore, it doesn't matter. You have to.
Colson also made it clear that joining the Fever wasn't a reluctant decision or a last resort after better options fell through. She genuinely wanted to be in Indiana. She appreciated players like Kelsey Mitchell and likely had conversations about the team's environment and culture before making her choice. She also believed her personality and playing style would fit well alongside the Fever's roster, including Caitlin Clark, whom she felt she could naturally connect with. From her perspective, that's what made the backlash even more frustrating. She wasn't forced into the situation. She chose it. Yet she still felt criticized for that very decision. To make things harder, her season was also disrupted by injury. A meniscus tear sidelined her for a significant amount of time, which already made it difficult to settle into a new team and establish her role. On top of that, dealing with public criticism and negativity from fans added another layer of difficulty, making an already challenging transition even more complicated. Colson added that the situation became even more difficult when considering that some of the negativity also seemed to come from opposing players, making the environment feel increasingly challenging. According to her, dealing with that kind of pressure while injured made everything exponentially harder. At the same time, the injury shifted her perspective. It pushed her into a more vocal leadership role and made her more aware of what her teammates were going through, especially those dealing with similar criticism and external pressure. As a result, she focused more on supporting them both emotionally and mentally during a tough stretch of the season. Her comments suggest she recognized that she wasn't the only one affected. Other Fever players were also navigating negativity that may not have been fully visible from the outside. In response, she positioned herself as a steady presence for her teammates, helping them manage the challenges that came with the intense spotlight and surrounding hostility. They are clearly being met with hostility, and what stands out is Colson's willingness to openly acknowledge that she felt disliked without any real personal justification. Many players tend to downplay or soften this kind of experience, admitting to general negativity, but often framing it in a more neutral or balanced way. Colson, however, was direct. In her view, simply joining the Fever was enough to trigger that reaction, with no deeper explanation needed. That level of honesty is significant because it supports what some Fever supporters have been arguing, that the treatment of Fever players and fans goes beyond ordinary sports rivalry. Instead of a typical competitive tension between teams, it can feel more personal and at times harsher in tone. In discussions around this topic, comparisons are sometimes made to other players and situations, including Dana Bonner, to highlight how reactions toward the Fever seem unusually intense compared to standard league dynamics. The idea is that the hostility toward her seemed to disappear once Bonner left the Fever, suggesting it wasn't really about individual players, but about their association with Indiana itself. In this view, anyone connected to the Fever gets pulled into that negativity, especially because of the team's link to Caitlin Clark. That creates a no-win situation for players. If they play well, they're accused of benefiting from Clark. If they struggle, they're criticized for not being good enough. Supporting teammates can be twisted into favoritism or jealousy, while staying quiet is also judged. As a result, no response seems to satisfy critics whose negativity is seen as rooted more in perception than performance.